600 men, 12 ships. The smartest general in the Greek army. 10 years later, one survivor, crawling home, alone. This is the story of how a genius lost literally everyone who worked for him, because he could not, for one single day, keep his mouth shut or his ego in check. He's the guy who literally invented the Trojan Horse. 14-day trip home. Should have been a cruise. Welcome to the Odyssey, the ultimate field guide on how to be the worst boss in ancient history. So how exactly does the smartest guy in Greece manage to get 600 of his own employees killed? Let's watch the scorecard drop. Day 1. They raid a city called Ismarus, grab the gold, the wine, the food. Odysseus says, "Back to the ships now." His men? Ignore him completely. Full beach party. Next morning, the locals come back with an army. 72 men dead before the trip even really starts. Then a storm dumps them on the island of the Lotus Eaters. Think of the lotus as ancient Greece's version of an infinite scroll. One bite and you forget your family, your goals, your entire existence. Odysseus has to drag his own men back onto the ship. All right, lesson learned. Keep a low profile. Except Odysseus has never once in his life kept a low profile. They find a cave full of giant cheese. His men say, "Grab the cheese, run." Odysseus says, "No, I want to meet the owner. I want a welcome gift." The owner is Polyphemus, a Cyclops, who traps them in the cave and eats 2 men raw, like protein snacks. So here's the genius part. Odysseus gets the giant drunk, tells him his name is Nobody, then blinds him with a flaming spear. When the other Cyclops ask who's hurting him, Polyphemus screams, "Nobody is hurting me!" So they go back to sleep. They escape clinging to the bellies of sheep. Actual genius. He won. He's safely on the ship. The monster is blind and can't chase him. All he has to do is shut up. Does he? Nope. He stands on the ship and screams, "Hey Cyclops! If anyone asks who did this, tell them it was me, Odysseus, king of Ithaca." The Cyclops calmly prays to his dad, who happens to be Poseidon, god of the sea. "Congratulations, Odysseus. You just made the entire ocean your personal enemy for the rest of the trip." Picture being his employee for a second. The king of the winds hands Odysseus a bag with every dangerous storm sealed inside and gives them a gentle breeze home. 9 days later, they can literally see Ithaca. But Odysseus never tells anyone what's in the bag, so his crew assumes he's hoarding gold from them. They open it. Every storm explodes at once, blowing them right back to square one. All because the boss couldn't be bothered to explain one bag. Next stop, an island of cannibal giants. They throw boulders and wipe out 11 of the 12 ships. Hundreds of men die in minutes. Why does Odysseus survive? Because his ship was the only one parked outside the harbor. He watches his employees get crushed and eaten, and just sails away. One ship left. A crew that's watched half their friends die. And the guy in charge still hasn't learned a single lesson. Before we see where they wash up next, drop a comment. At this point, would you still be following this boss? We'll come back to that. They meet Circe, beautiful witch, invites them to dinner, turns every single man into a pig. Snouts, hooves, the whole package. Odysseus resists the magic and forces her to change them back. And then, instead of leaving, he decides to stay and party with the witch for an entire year. A full year. His men have to stage what is essentially an intervention. "Boss, can we please go home now?" Circe finally tells him, to get home, you have to go talk to a dead prophet, in the underworld. Down there, Odysseus gets one very simple prophecy. Do not, under any circumstances, touch the sacred cattle of the sun god. Touch the cows, and you lose everything. One rule, don't touch the cows. They survive the Sirens. They lose 6 more men to a monster called Scylla. The crew is starving, exhausted, and they land right on the sun god's island. Odysseus reminds everyone, do not touch the cows. Then he decides to take a nap. And what do starving men do the second their toxic boss falls asleep? They have a barbecue. When Odysseus wakes up and smells roasting beef, he knows it's over. The meat on the sticks is literally moaning. The second they set sail, Zeus throws a lightning bolt and smashes the ship to pieces. Every remaining man drowns. 600 men, 0 survivors except him. He washes up on an island where a goddess named Calypso keeps him as her personal guest, for the next 7 years. 7 years is a long time to think about how all of this was 100% avoidable. Back home, 108 men have taken over his house, eating his food, trying to force his wife Penelope to remarry. The gods finally let Odysseus go. He sneaks home disguised as a filthy old beggar to test who's still loyal. And in the courtyard, one creature recognizes him instantly. Argos, his hunting dog, just a puppy when he left 20 years ago. Old, sick, lying in the trash. But he hears his master's voice, wags his tail, lowers his ears, and quietly passes away. Penelope sets a challenge. String Odysseus's bow, shoot an arrow through 12 axe heads, win her hand. All 108 men try. None can even bend the bow. Then the beggar steps up. The room laughs, until he strings it in one motion and fires a perfect shot. He drops the disguise. With his son, he locks every door in the hall and takes down all 108 men. But Penelope is smart. 20 years is a long time. She wants proof. She tells a servant, "Move my bed out of the bedroom for our guest." Odysseus snaps, "Move it? Impossible. I built that bed myself, around a living olive tree still rooted in the ground." That was the password. Only the real Odysseus could know that. 20 years, over. So, the Odyssey. An epic tale of survival? Or a 20-year disaster caused by a guy who couldn't keep his mouth shut and kept falling asleep at the worst possible moments? As a tour guide, I'm giving him 1 star. If you've ever had a boss or a travel buddy this toxic, hit subscribe. And tell me in the comments, which mythological figure should we roast next?